From the heart of Europe to the world, this is RTI.
And welcome to Postcard from Poprad on the 11th day of the 11th month. And my thanks go to absolutely every broadcaster who recognised the tribute at 11 o'clock GMT. You're wonderful people. Thank you. My name is Eric Wiltsher. We're at the base of the glorious Tatras Mountains where the snow is on the top and it looks beautiful. And over there in Blighty Land, it is none other than Mr. Banks.
Hello, everybody. How nice to be back with you.
Right. Is that a good thing?
That's a good thing. I'm just waiting. I'm just anxious to get on with this show and be able to point a few things out and make certain statements about certain things.
Right. So you're basically going to have a go at me again?
Yes.
No new news there, then. I thought this was supposed to be a news programme.
It is new news.
No, it's not new news.
It is.
Why?
Because I'm having a go at you in a different way. I'm coming at it from a different angle.
Oh. So you're not just...
Dead.
You're not just...
You're dead. You're going to be dead on air. Dead air.
Dead air?
Dead air.
Leigh,
What?
can you count to 10 for me?
That's because you've just switched me off, so I'm now a victim.
There we go. You see, he's gone. No problem. It's not a problem. Sorry, you're back again. What did you say, mate? Sorry?
You're just making it worse for yourself.
And over there, it's the lovely starstruck, in the literal sense of the stars and travelling. It's Rachel.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
I'm
Hello.
all right. I want to talk about Buzz Aldrin in a minute, but first of all, and I promise you, boys and girls, I have not planned this at all. And both Rachel and Leigh have no idea what I'm about to do because I'm completely off the list that's in front of me. Because I value their opinion immensely.
Yes, dear.
And they are typically right.
You are going to get my opinion.
Good. And can I have your opinion as well, Rach?
Oh, for free?
Yes.
Yeah. No, for 6 cents.
6 cents.
Yeah, that's right, 6 cents.
That's a private joke. Nobody else can get that.
No, it was very in-joke. So I want to ask you some sort of logical questions. Now, there has been rather a spat going on, which I've got involved with as well, on Facebook. And it's due to the foolish attitude of a self-appointed organisation called FIFA. They have no real standing in the world apart from people within FIFA vote for themselves and vote new people in within FIFA, not that the public have anything to do with it. So they're hardly, a democratic organisation in that respect. And they have launched this thing, which they're doing, and I'm feeling very sad for Wales today. I am very, very sad for Wales because of something that's happened. So I need your opinion. Now,
Yes.
Can I just give you a list of faiths first? So we'll have faiths, We'll have the Jewish faith. We'll have Church of England, Catholic, Sikh, Muslim. We'll even include in that agnostics as well, yeah? So we've got all kinds of different people. Now, I want you to know...
Faiths are available, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. And I want you to tell me more than two, and the key is in the question, Leigh and Rach, more than two items that all of those particular groups will say are a good emblem. Because I can't think of any other than one. Can you?
What they would all agree upon?
Yes.
As an iconic representation of religion.
Not of religion, but just an iconic representation, because it can't be their religion, because everybody else has it.
A big house to worship in.
Well, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Yep.
So that's number one.
A donut.
That's number one. So what's number two?
God.
A donut.
A donut.
Donut.
A donut.
A donut.
Yeah, excellent. No, I am going to say...
Holding that argument, right?
Thank you. I'm going to sit here and say that all of those particular groups of people, whether they are... And your argument kind of goes out a bit, Leigh, when you get to agnostics, which I put in particular, because they don't
They don't live in houses?
They don't have big houses like called churches.
They might have big houses.
True.
Oh, I know what it is.
What?
Go on.
Love.
Love.
True, that could be true, but we can't guarantee
That's
that.
a good one. Big houses and love.
That's nice. The one thing they all have in common is every one of those groups, in one form or another, actually respects the poppy as an individual item. Correct?
Do we know that? Well, I don't know. How do we know that all religions respect the poppy? That's a sweeping statement.
Well, we have evidence of Muslims. We have evidence because Muslims were participants in several nasty things going on in the last 100 or so years. All the other ones that I mentioned were all in there, and every one of them, I can prove this, every one of those groups has sold poppies for the Royal British Legion.
Well, if you can prove it, we'll accept it.
Thank you. Well, it can be proven. It's very, very simple. You've only got to look on my timeline to see it. So it's all there. Now, the next thing that comes across is commercial logos.
Yeah.
Now, how can a charity, guys, be considered a commercial logo?
It can't.
It can't. Thank you, Rach.
Well, it can. It can. No, that's a sweeping statement as well.
No, it's not. If it's not for profit, then it's not considered commercial.
Yeah.
But most charities are for profit. Any charity...
No. Quantify that.
Quantify it? Well, most charities now operate in a business-like fashion and create profit ostensibly to help the cause that they represent.
So they give the money away, it's not for profit.
But they made a profit. They have a commercial attitude towards things, which means that they will create a profit. What they do with that profit after then, whether it's altruistic or not, does not take away the commerciality of the operation.
Right, so, all right, we'll be more specific. Does the Royal British Legion keep money for itself, or does it give it to fallen heroes?
I don't really know, but I imagine they need to maintain their buildings and they need to maintain everything else that they own. They need to maintain their infrastructure, so part of it will be used for them, yes.
Yes, so we're okay on point 2.
Nearly.
Now, is the poppy, or can the poppy be a religious statement or a political statement?
I don't think it's either.
No, I don't think it's either, Rach. No.
No.
And finally, and I have to say, which is quite a shock for me, I have to say, thank you, Facebook. Thank you to Facebook. Thank you. The reason being, boys and girls, is when I turned my Facebook on this morning, there was a lovely message from Facebook respecting our fallen heroes with a poppy on it.
Yeah.
And I sorry, Mr. Facebook, I know I've nicked your copyright, but I screen grabbed it and I put it on my timeline purposely. Because, now correct me if I'm wrong here, Mark Zuckerberg is an American guy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Facebook is an American company, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It recognises the poppy, but it's not UK.
Yeah.
Correct. So how can the poppy then be a UK-centric emblem?
It's not.
Yeah,
Did you see our stuff today on the Australian people's timelines today? We do it every Remembrance
Yes.
Day. Even my profile picture changed today.
But it began. It was an English statement.
No. Where did it begin?
In
France.
Britain. It began in Britain.
France.
Well, no. It was its focus was Flanders, but its inception was inherently British.
Okay.
And
in which
then
case,
the rest of the world picks it up.
Right. In which case, then, if I accept your point, football started in England. It didn't start in Switzerland. Football began in the land of the Vikings, which I can't remember what the land was. Well, it wasn't
where they used to chop people's heads off and kick them around.
Right.
That's where football.
Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't Switzerland, was it? No.
No.
Therefore,
Scandinavia or something.
Yeah, exactly. So whichever way you come at it, boys and girls, you've got an organisation based in Switzerland who really have got no right to claim football as their own, because they didn't start it anyway. And if the poppy was started in England, which we can all agree on, that's not a problem, and football started in another country, FIFA should be disbanded and sent to the country where it was in the first place. So they're still up the gum tree without a paddle.
They should have been disbanded years ago. They're corrupt as anything.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't
and
disagree with
football
that.
should be disbanded as well because it's the most boring game in the world.
No, it's not.
Oh, so agree with you. I concur 100%.
Thank you, Rach. Thank you, Rach. It's even more boring than Formula One.
Oh, God, it is too.
No. Anyway.
They said you must watch
A load of grown
Formula
men
One.
running around in shorts, kicking a
Anyway,
dead Viking's
Leigh,
head about.
before you go around, hang on, hold on. I'm just knocking the microphone a little bit. Mr. and Mrs. FIFA, would you please write to RTI and tell us how come, after all that evidence, you claim that the poppy is UK-centric, religious thing, whatever you want to decide it is, when we can prove you're absolutely wrong, you're completely and utterly silly, and you haven't got a leg to stand on.
100% right. 100% behind you.
Absolutely right.
Thank you.
And in fact, if you go to the Consumer Watch Foundation, you can read Eric ranting about FIFA in a very elegant and erudite fashion.
Thank you. That's rather smart of you. And I will add one little thing, as Leigh's mentioned it. There is a picture on the Consumer Watch Foundation with some gentlemen who I had the privilege and honour to meet, very humbling. One was from the Czech Republic, another was from Slovakia. Notice the names, Slovakia, Czech Republic, who were both vets from previous conflicts, and they were both wearing the poppy.
Yes.
Therefore, how can it be a UK-centric thing? FIFA, wake up, smell the coffee, and stop just doing everything for money.
Can I just make a point about FIFA, which most people have missed, but if you read the article on Consumer Watch Foundation, it'll become clear. In fact, this is not the first time that FIFA has tried to ban the poppy.
No.
They did it in the Spanish, whatever it was, game about 6 years ago, and they agreed that people could wear a representation of the poppy on a band around the arm.
Yes.
Now they want to ban that. It's not that they just want to ban the poppy, they want to ban a representation of the poppy. These people are insane!
And my final message goes to the sponsors of FIFA. Do be aware, Mr. Sponsors of FIFA, there is currently a growing band of people on Facebook, and we know how powerful Facebook can be. So never, ever diss it. There is a group of people now saying if FIFA continues to ban the poppy, they will ban your products. They will actually stop buying your products, Mr. and Mrs. Sponsor. So do be careful. It might be a good time for you to go to FIFA and go, oi, stop messing about. Because it could cost you money.
Yeah, FIFA for fun. We smell the blood of a FIFA man.
Yes, exactly. We move on to the news, boys and girls. I do apologise if you found that boring, but I'm sorry. It has to be said, because for the majority of us, if it wasn't for those people, we wouldn't be talking here now. You wouldn't be listening to it. The whole world would be completely bonkers, more bonkers than it is. And so we owe those people an enormous gratitude, which we can never, ever repay them. We just can't. It's impossible.
I think you're right. And I would just like to make one point, that I think it is despicable and shameful of the world generally to be disrespecting these people by leaving democracy in tatters and trying to end our right to freedom of speech.
Well, there's that too,
That's
isn't there?
right. It's a fortress of censorship.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We move on to the news, boys and girls. So Jimmy Young, what a wonderful broadcaster, has died at the age of 95. He started off life as a singer or a crooner, but he really, really wanted to be in the broadcasting world. It was his dream, his passion, and so on and so forth. Now, I didn't like the music that Jim played, but you had to listen to him, because he was a master. He was a natural. The JY prog and what's the recipe today, Jim, was just unbelievably brilliant. It was stunning. And he was there for decades and Look at the people he interviewed. Everybody wanted to be on his programme.
It was a brilliant programme.
It was.
It was, honestly. I'm not trying to follow a party line, because the last thing I'm going to do in this show is follow a party line. But it was a brilliant show. It was brilliantly conceived. Jimmy Young was a man from Laramie. What a stunning performance that was. He was a broadcast and entertainment genius, far beyond Terry Wogan.
No, I'll put them on the same plateau, but the fact is they were both just so natural at what they were doing, and had the ability to change from one to the other in seconds. And the other thing they were very smart at doing was letting people hang themselves during interviews.
I agree.
They were absolutely brilliant. Do you know him, Rach?
No, but if I did get a chance to sit down and have a cup of tea with him, I'm sure I would have found him a lovely man.
Yes, quite agree. So he's going to be up there with...
Can I just make a point before we move on?
Yeah?
It's of great importance to the show. Sadly, Mr. Young had his dark side.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, no.
He was divorced.
Yeah. And?
He was dependent on sleeping pills for a great deal of his life. He suffered from depression and had a drink problem at one stage in his life. I would just like to point that out.
But Mark,
so does 90% of the planet, so that's okay.
Absolutely.
Most genii also suffer the same fate.
Absolutely.
He was a regular guy then.
Disagree.
Yeah, he's a regular bloke then, so that wasn't a dark side at all. He's completely normal.
Nothing dark about it at all.
No,
publicly documented.
Right, yeah, okay, we got it. This is where he'll rant on. But actually, you know, what his most famous song, I have to say, was a work of genius. I have to say that. The singer-songwriter and artist Leonard Cohen has died at the age of 82. And he's been poorly for quite some time, actually, which is kind of sad. But
it was a back problem.
Uh-oh.
That's what he was suffering from. He was suffering from a back problem. And it was sad, like about 3 months ago, he came out with a statement saying he was ready to die. Then he came out with another statement saying, hang on, no, I'm not ready to die. And then he died. And it's just a tragedy. RTI actually gave me a hearing of his new album, So You Want Things Darker. And what a work of absolute fabulousness.
Actually, you were one of the first in the world to play that.
I know. I actually was. Yes. Yeah. At RTI. Yeah, we did. And it was a beautiful song full of invective and viciousness and charm and wit. And that's what people forget. Leonard Cohen was an incredibly, incredibly funny performer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I point out that he had his dalliance with drugs,
here we go again.
And alcohol. It's well documented. He was a divorcee. He had affairs left, right, and centre. He was a womanizer.
So basically, he was mentored by you.
He was a musician. You know.
Just pointing it out.
He was mentored by you then.
Yeah, well, yes, we all have those peccadillos, and there's nothing to be ashamed of them.
Well, why are they called dark things?
Because they're the dark side.
Yeah, right, pardon me.
No, it's like you said, his album was called So You Want Things Darker.
Yeah. Well, he just could have turned the brightness down.
The dark side is romantic, isn't it, Rachel? Rob's got his dark side, and you find that incredibly sensual.
There was a pause there.
Okay.
Who's Rob?
You're right, I do. I find it very sensual indeed.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. See, dark side.
Okay, all right. Anyway, this is very UK-centric. Apologies to everybody else, but Steve Wright's been on radio for many, many years, and he's an
idiot.
He found this character called Joyce Frost. And he was so politically incorrect, he used to call her old woman. And she was an old lady. But she'd come on and do the most amazing... I have to say, in the beginning, I thought she was better than at the end, because she got too... she got too smooth with it. She became almost too professional, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas in the beginning, she was just very naturally her. But she was on there as one of the guests each particular day. Well, not every day, but most of the days. Unfortunately, she's passed away. Bless her.
She has. It's sad. It's very sad.
Rather sad.
I have found no dark side to her.
Oh my Lord! What a miracle!
Not documented.
Non-documented. nothing written down about her dark side. Of course, yes.
Leigh, I do know one dark side of her.
Go on.
She drank a cup of tea.
The naughty girl. She had tea breath.
Yes.
A life of tea breath. Good Lord, that's why she was with that big fat wobbly Stephen, right?
He used to be so tiny. K-Star, the affectionately known jukebox queen of the late 50s and early 60s, she's died as well, which is rather sad. And she was just one of those, do you know, I can't actually put into words what I'm trying to say. It's one of those things, K-Star's voice is just K-Star's voice.
It is. She was wonderful, and she had her dark side too. Was divorced on a regular, well documented.
Oh, okay. Rachel's still quiet.
Hello, Rachel.
I don't know any of these people.
I think it's an age thing, Rach.
No, Leonard Cohen, but I don't know any of these other people. I have no idea who they are. But you know what? I'm sure they're lovely.
Oh, sure.
Okay. The next one should interest you.
Yes, I would have thought so. Ewan Whittaker has also passed on. He was the mapper of the moon, a British astronomer, and he was actually really clever.
Very clever.
Not half.
No, a full clever.
Sputnik. Yes, he was. He was the guy that actually sort of sussed it all out in 1957. I would say to you, he's probably as clever as Arthur C. Clarke.
Probably cleverer in a way.
Could be. Which brings me nice. Sorry.
No, Arthur C. Clarke really sort of abandoned his crown as a scientist when he became the writer of strange novels and books, didn't he?
Yeah, but
he had quite a checkered life, Arthur C. Clarke. Ewan Whittaker, nothing documented about him.
The interesting thing with Arthur C. Clarke, once it was in Wireless World, 1948, when he wrote this article, which everybody thought was science fiction at the time. About 3 satellites orbiting the Earth, and therefore everybody could communicate with everybody. Yeah, which is absolutely right, spot on. And it's still
spot on. He was a good lad.
It works always to this day. But he did suffer with his health later in life, Arthur C. Clarke, and he was in
he smoked a lot. He was a heavy smoker.
Very. He lived in Sri Lanka towards the end of his life, and the reason being.
Was good for it.
Yeah, the air was really good, and he could swim there, and it gave him the feeling of having his legs back, which he'd lost the use of. And
smoking.
You're having a go at me indirectly here, aren't you?
No, not at all. I'm just pointing out the facts. We're talking about Ewan Whittaker, and we're now on to Arthur C. Clarke and his poorly legs because of his peccadillos towards unhealthy living.
Oh, well, there you go. Before we go on to Raoul Coulthard, I want to drop in here and ask Rach, Buzz Aldrin?
Yes. Buzz Aldrin.
I nearly wept. I really did. I didn't know whether I was going to weep or wet myself, but it was just the most wonderful thing. He was eloquent, and he was funny, and he had a couple of great stories about the Apollo 11 mission and also other Apollo missions. But he's still very much involved with NASA as a consultant. He's an engineer, don't you know? He's got his doctorate, and he was explaining what his role is in the development of the Mars missions, and it was the most interesting evening I have spent anywhere ever. A guy from NASA was there, a guy from the other, there was a couple of people from other space agencies around the world, and how we're all together as a planet. We're going to get all the space agencies together, and also commercial guys like, you know, Elon Musk and the like. Yep. And they're going to, they reckon they'll have, they don't reckon. They're saying they will have manned orbits around Mars by the late 2020s.
Wow. What was the best story he told you, Rach?
It was about a circuit breaker. They'd been for their little walk on the moon, him and Neil, and they were back in their little spacecraft, and they had to spend the night there because they weren't due to take off yet. And he thought, we better do all these checks and stuff. So they did, but they realised that they'd carried in all this moon dust and all these rocks and various other things, and Buzz Aldrin was lying on the floor because that was the best place to get asleep. And he made Neil Armstrong sit upright. Well, he got to go first, so that's fair. But he was looking on the ground and he said he saw something really strange that just did not belong there, and he realised it was the circuit breaker for the start of the engine.
No!
So they nearly didn't come home. But what he did discover while NASA was trying to figure out what to do, he did discover that he had a pen, but he wasn't going to stick a metal pen in there because that would have just ended badly. So he found what we would now call like a Sharpie, a felt tip pen.
Uh-huh.
And he wedged that in there, and they managed to use that to start the engine to leave the moon.
Flipping heck.
Best story ever.
Oh,
Best
not
story
half. So if ever anybody gets a chance, you're saying go see him.
Yeah, it's called Mars Live Experience.
I would go see it.
Yeah, even in your staccato world.
Strangely enough, if I may say, I've checked this out, and he didn't actually talk about his struggles with depression, his alcoholism, his 2 failed marriages, his difficult relationship with his father, and the fact that his mother, who was called Marion Moon, killed herself shortly before he set off for the moon.
Maybe not, but if you do want to go see it, it's called, well documented. It's called Mars the Live Experience, and it's put on by National Geographic. And they have great speakers, and it's really interesting. So if it comes to a city near you, do go.
Okay, we finished part one with another person, actually. It's Raoul Coulthard, very, very famous for the French New Wave movement, and he was a brilliant photographer. His imagery was just amazing.
Yeah.
And he
Paris Match, Life magazine.
Yes, he did indeed. But some of his images were just... I wish I could do images like that. I'm jealous.
And without the aid of computers...
I wish you could too.
Well, exactly, Rach. He had no computers, did he?
No,
he did it with his eye and his camera.
Yep.
That's terrible to say that he wasn't hampered by the fact that he didn't have computers. People
I didn't say that.
No,
he did.
I didn't.
He did.
I
He did.
I didn't.
Without the aid of.
Without the aid of.
Beautiful.
That's right. That's all I'm saying.
His
It's
photos were
better.
beautiful without computers messing around with them.
Yeah.
It's far more talented to be able to take a photograph without being able to manipulate it by a computer.
That's true.
Said.
That's what we said.
That's so we're all agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
In which
Stop
case,
arguing.
do you know what?
Shut up, Uncle Leigh.
Yeah, we'll take a break.
From the heart of Europe to the world, this is RTI.
This is an appeal that I simply wish I didn't have to make. In this day and age, how is it possible that 1,400 children will die today from dirty water? That children like Elodie have to drink dirty water from rivers and swamps, risking their lives. Right now, you can help save a child's life. Text the word water to 70080 to give WaterAid £3. WaterAid has the expertise to install pipes, pumps and taps that will bring clean water to children at risk. They just need your support. In the next minute, dirty water will kill another child like Elodie. So please, don't wait to save a child's life. Text WATER to 70080 now to give WaterAid £3. Thank you.
If your dream holiday is 2 hours from the UK, perfect for children and teenagers, young couples and the older visitor, ideal for the physically active and for those who just want to unwind, Aqua City is the destination for you. Described by the Travel Channel as the place that will soon be on everybody's lips, be ahead of the crowd and the envy of your friends, but still enjoy a home from home. come to Aqua City Poprad, the world's leading green resort.
From the heart of Europe to the world, RTI.
And welcome back to Postcard from Poprad. It's a bit of a chilly day today, it has to be said, and we're arguing already, but never mind. Leigh and Rach are there as always, ready to cast aspersions on my knowledge of absolutely everything and anything at any time, any place. They're rather like the martini couple, actually, aren't they?
I'm ready for you.
Are you?
I am.
They tear me to shreds every week, boys and girls.
I do not. Excuse me. That I'm going to tear you to shreds for saying that. I don't do that. I'm the nice
No,
one.
she doesn't. Apologise.
I'm sorry.
That's terrible. That's a terrible aspersion to cast against Rachel.
Is it?
Yeah.
But she's
Especially in hay fever season. I don't need nasturtiums thrown at me in the hay
fever season. It's cold.
It's not where I live.
I know it's not.
She's been in prison, you know. She's been in prison. She's got a dark side.
I do. Oh,
she
God.
has, yes, that's true. We move on to Prince Harry, not Prince Charles. Prince Harry, who's been in the papers this week, along with Meghan Markle. Basically, the Daily Moan has been going on about her and what they should and shouldn't do and yada, yada, yada. And you know what? We don't care.
We do
No,
care.
hang on. I've got to stop you there. It's more than just this Daily Moan. She's in America. Mm-hmm. She's had trolls, death threats. Somebody tried to break into her mother's home.
Yes.
This is not just we don't care. This is just somebody being threatened and their privacy being invaded. And
Yeah.
If I recall, there was a princess a while back who
Yes.
was bombarded by people and terrible things. Lucky she didn't live in the time of social media, and she's now no longer with us.
I agree with that.
People
Rach,
attack
yes.
people online. Celebrities are celebrities, but they're also human beings with feelings, and we should not do horrible things like that to them, regardless of who they're dating or what their story is.
Couldn't agree with you more, Rachel.
So calling her a saucy divorcee is a nice thing or a nasty thing?
Well, I mean, it's just a thing, but I mean, celebrities know that they have to, that sort of stuff comes with the territory, but when you call other people names that I can't even mention on the radio because it's too rude, and they threaten her with killing her, that's a little bit different.
I agree. But
there's freedom of speech in the world today.
So who's fueling the fire?
Trolls in the world.
Social media food. Well, that's the reason I've been pointing out all the peccadillos of all the dead people is because I knew this story was coming up and I knew the attitude that was going to be taken to it. I'm surprised and enamoured by the attitude taken by Rachel. She's quite right, though. Absolutely 100%. People have complained once again about the UK press pointing out things about life. The press has been accused of being racist, it's been accused of being invasive, and yet...
But it hasn't been racist or invasive, really.
No, he hasn't.
No.
All it's done. The racist remark is a tailor, a teacher, and a cleaner in racially divided Jim Crow South.
Thank you.
That's where she comes from. That is
and for goodness sake, look at the... I get... This is where Leigh's going to fall over on the floor, so if you hear a big bump...
I know. I've already gathered where you're going.
No, you don't. You have no idea. I promise you. I'll bet you money on it. Leigh will fall on the floor because I don't get all this perpetual. The print media are like a magnet for some reason, and whenever there's a chance to take a pop at them, people take this ridiculously large pop. And to be honest, they're not representative of the UK in any way, shape or form. Because, the larger percentage of the UK don't buy newspapers, and I'm sorry...
But it just isn't true. It just isn't true. What you're saying is untrue.
Why? They don't sell that many newspapers these days.
I actually had the figures for how many newspapers are sold across the world on a daily basis, and it's actually billions. And in Britain, we sell in the region of a third of the population, or more than a third of the population, actually read.
No, buy.
Buy a newspaper, and then you get your equation very similar to the equation used in radio for working out readership and listenership. But what I want to say is that everything that the press has said, this woman is potentially going to become very important to Britain, and therefore potentially, yeah. So that's it. You don't look at it. You know, what's happening in this country, and this is why I'm so incensed about it all, is that people don't realise that as democracy falls apart across the world, it's fallen apart in America, and it's fallen apart in Britain, it's fallen apart across Europe, that one of the mainstays of democracy is freedom of speech. And if this woman, that I have nothing to do with it, if Meghan has told the world about the fact that she's a divorcee, that she comes from Jim Crow South, that all the things that she has told the press about to perpetuate her career as an actress, and has allowed vaguely rude videos and pictures of herself to go public, then we have a right to know what she's about. And if the way the press presents it doesn't actually suit certain people, don't read the press. But don't say you've got an opinion on it if you don't read it.
Right. I agree with that. That's okay. Yeah. So why can't there be a newspaper put together that shows all the dark side of the journalists? What would they feel like then?
Well, because it's called a magazine, and it's called OK, and it's called...
because journalists are not that important. We're not celebrities. These people are celebrities. Derek Jameson was a celebrity journalist. Piers Morgan is a celebrity journalist. Piers Morgan's life has been ripped apart by the press. And anybody who reaches the position, Jeremy Paxson, he's a journalist. His life has been scrutinised by the press. It happens to people who have celebrity.
Is it right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think in terms of, I'm with Leigh on this. I think the press can be harsh, but they're not reporting anything that's not already public knowledge. They're not making things up. They're not, only tabloid magazine, raggy magazines that you buy when you're waiting for your turn at the checkout do that. Right. But the thing that concerns me, and it's the same old, this is the same thing we talk about over and over and over. There's a story in the newspaper, and then people who are not qualified and have no talent, citizen journalists, get on the internet and start breaking out all their rubbish, and then they get personal and they get nasty, and then that incites the trolls. It's a very, very murky, dark, horrible circle.
But Rach, where does it start?
Where does it? What do you mean?
It starts with the celebrity themselves telling the world about their lives. That's where it starts.
Yeah, it does.
Well, who do they tell?
We don't just magic up a life for somebody.
No, Leigh. No, I'm not arguing that point. Where do the celebrities distribute this information in the first place?
To their publicists.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's this cycle that starts right at the beginning that needs to think about itself a little bit. And I think
it doesn't.
And I think that's why people.
Doesn't.
I don't think that's.
Why would it have to think about itself? If they want to tell the world about their lives, and people are interested enough to actually pay to read about their lives, what's wrong with that?
No, I get that point, Leigh, and I can't argue against it. I really can't. But
and how do we know that stupid Julian Assange didn't leak all that stuff about her?
We don't.
Well, yeah, it's not
could have
the
nothing
sort
to
of
do
thing
with the press at all.
No, absolutely not.
Also, can I back up what Rachel said? In the dim and distant past, I worked for the National Enquirer magazine in America. It was the place to work for British journalists. That was like reaching the peak of your career to go there. And this is how, one of the most salacious and celebrity-driven and outrageous tabloid magazines and news vendors carried out their job. They didn't make anything up. They didn't lie. They didn't invent stuff. What they did, they talked to whoever they were talking to, wrote the story, and then people of a different department than the journalist would phone back the celebrity or the person who had been interviewed and read them the story word for word, verbatim, and ask them if they were happy with it, if they were satisfied with it. And that was the basis that these celebrity salacious stories got published. The celebrities heard the story, knew what was being said about them, and said, yeah, go ahead.
Right. What's wrong with that?
And pardon?
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is that the journalists don't make things up. They don't make things up. They don't invent things. They actually treat the celebrity with the respect the celebrity thinks it deserves.
I'd like to think
it doesn't
that.
get nasty until it gets in the hands of.
Rachel, I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, he's looking at his phone now. Anyway, okay, I'm not arguing either way because I'm just interested to find out. Because I also think that there are so many good things that the trolls are a nightmare. And boys and girls, I can't go into the reason why, because that's the commercial confidence, as it's known. And I've had to take on trolls on many occasions for individuals and also groups of people, and I will fight them. You can believe my words. I will fight them. But there's another side where people can put pressure, like FIFA. They can put pressure on FIFA through social media that newspapers can only dream of putting on them. They can't put anywhere near that level of pressure on. And so there is a good side to it as well. And that's fact.
Yeah, there is. But what Rachel's saying in the focus of this story is 100% right. And it's the history of how these situations arise that's important.
It is.
You've got to look at the fact. Look, it doesn't matter. Everybody who's against newspapers says that it's a load of rubbish. I don't want to read it. Why would I want to know about her past? Well, that's a Philistine attitude. I can't agree with you because
I can't either. Because if people want to read it, then why not?
Absolutely, but believe it or not, this world is led by the almost the promise of celebrity. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants newspapers writing about them.
True.
That's why we have celebrity game shows. It's why we have. It's stupid, isn't it? That real life is happening all around you. As you walk down the street, you go in the shop, real life is happening. And yet we all focus on reality TV, which is complete and utter falsehood.
Which drives me bonkers, because we will touch on the American election later. But the fact is, my interest in the American election was based on financial issues, currency conversion rates, yada, yada, yada. Not necessarily what individual won. I was more interested in the ramifications of that individual. And I've said to people before, if certain things happen, if that candidate wins, this will happen. If that candidate wins, this will happen. And I was right. I was absolutely spot on. But you never see.
What if Al Capone was standing? What if the biggest criminal, the head of the matter, Tony Soprano, was standing? You wouldn't be interested in the fact that he had a background and was a criminal. You'd just say, oh, well, I wonder what effect he will have on the finances of this country.
Well, because I can't influence it, Lee. I recognise the fact that I'm not American. I have no right to tell an American how to vote, because I don't.
Well, they've got a right to tell us.
No, they don't.
Absolutely not.
No, they don't. No more than we have the right to tell Rachel who to vote for in Australia. That's ridiculous.
Rachel doesn't even know who to vote for. So.
No, yeah. I get that. But we don't have the right to procrastinate to people and say you should vote for this person in your country when probably we know very little about it, and B, we don't live there anyway. So why the heck do we have the right to tell people what to do?
Because it is a global society now, and that partly is what the internet has managed to create, this global society where we do have influence. We have an indirect influence on things.
Yeah.
Well, America's still a big force in the world, and they've got many treaties and stuff with us and trade with us, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that has huge. Their election had huge consequences for Australia, huge.
Of course they did.
And we're yet to find out what's going to happen there. So if we had an opinion about who we'd rather in the Oval Office, I mean, I think that's okay. But I know that a lot of my American friends now want to come and emigrate to Australia.
Most of America wants to move to Mexico
or Canada.
They tried to move to Canada, but the server crashed.
This is where, boys and girls. This is where Rachel goes to sleep again and goes, "Oh no!" But I've got to put this story in for one reason. It's not the reason in the actual story as it goes. Jeremy Clarkson, hopes to appear on the BBC a lot because he wasn't actually fired. They just didn't renew his contract, which is quite true. But it's quite funny how this happens shortly after other people that were, shall we say, not friendly to the BBC have been reinstated. And I'm just wondering if this isn't another one of the same thing, where Jeremy Clarkson has been on a couple of TV shows on the BBC national networks, and he's now saying, I love the BBC. Well, of course he does. They've paid their wages. But there's two things that Jeremy came up with, which I quite agree with. One of which is, who the hell has got the right to know what wages they're getting? Because I don't agree with that. But number two, I also think this is the greatest piece of PR this month.
Because of the new show coming out.
Correct.
Yeah, the Grand Tour.
Yeah.
Which is Top Gear backwards if you take the first letter.
Funny that, isn't it? Absolutely funny. But I'm just wondering if this all part and parcel of, guess what? The BBC buying the Grand Tour from Amazon. Interesting
point. Very interesting point. Because Amazon's a big thing, but it's also has a marginality to it because you have to pay. We have it on telly, but I won't pay for it, so we can't watch the Grand Tour.
Right. But they will sell the product.
Yeah.
They will make money from it. Top Gear's dying on its feet. The BBC needs to get its audience back. What a lovely way to do it. We'll buy it because they won't pay the full whack for it. They'll pay a lot less than they ever used to pay for Top Gear just by buying the issues from the series from Amazon.
How bullying and lily-livered, though, for the BBC to first of all attack all these people and then give them the jobs back without saying sorry.
Absolutely.
They've not said sorry to anybody.
Nope. Never at all. Never at all. We like this next story, which is slightly light-hearted on today's programme, which has been quite serious. A man's gone absent from a government job for, years. Well,
decades.
Forever. And he's now complaining that he's not getting paid anymore. Leigh, you found this one.
I just think it's a really good story. Yeah, he lives in Kuwait. He works in the public sector, which I think meant that he worked for the local council. And he was like a local government worker. And like all local government organisations and governments and councils, they have no idea what's going on under their own roof. And this bloke just didn't bother to go to work for 10 years and kept getting paid. The beauty of this man, and I adore him for this, is that he's really angry about the fact they've stopped paying him after 10 years while he's not been at work, and now he's threatening to sue them for back pay.
Marvellous. Unbelievable. Now, Rach, down in New South Wales, you've got a giant wok looking at things.
We do. It's called the Dish. Exactly. Here's Rachie's top tip for the week. Go on your local DVD emporium or wherever it is that you get your films and look for a movie called The Dish. It's one of the best Australian films ever made, and it's about this gigantic dish in a place called Parkes. And it came to everybody's famous light. It became its own celebrity because it was used in the Apollo 11 missions to get pictures from the moon, because only America could get pictures during certain times of the day, but we could get them at other times of the day. And the actual moment that they walked on the moon was captured by Parkes, by this dish, which is very cool history. But there's a great story about it, and it's such a great Australian film. You guys will both really enjoy it. But in this particular story, they're doing a great sort of broadcast live initiative. So there's going to be pinging going back and forth to this Proxima Centauri, which is really far away, by the way. Let's see, 4.2 light years or something. And they've got this great big telescope, and they're going to pick up radio frequencies looking for signals from extraterrestrial civilizations, which is really interesting. And Stephen Hawking is spearheading it with a couple of other people, but there's going to be about 3 or 4 different countries involved and broadcasting all these really cool frequencies backwards and forwards to see what's out there. And
cool.
If life's out there, I think it's awesome.
Might have ET home phone.
Yeah.
Also down in Australia, a diver's been rescued after 18 hours. He was lucky, wasn't he? Les Brearley, who's 68 years old, is now recovering from mild hypothermia in hospital. And that's, again, what's happened with Queensland? Everything's up there at the moment.
Yeah, it's all up there at the moment. But this poor guy, he went for a dive and there was some strong currents and his boat got away from him. But he didn't have his self-beacon with him. He'd left it home. He'd taken it out of his kit when he was cleaning his kit and he didn't put it back in. So he couldn't ask for any help. He just had to sort of float along. But the reason why I love this story, other than the fact that he survived, this is so Australian, the way this all unfolded. He was out in the water and his thought was, oh, this isn't good, which is very Australian to do. And then he knew that when there's sharks around, the sharks will be around when there's minnows feeding and when there's a lot of birds. So there was a birdie flying above his head, and he just yelled at one of them to go get him some help.
Like that's going to work.
When the Coast Guard actually found him, this guy, I love this. This is quintessential Australian. He was lowered down this rescue guy, and he said, "G'day, mate. Do you want a lift?"
Oh, I love it.
But it was very, very late. It was gold. The whole story was just gold. It's real Aussie stuff, and but he's not going to go out without that little beacon in his kit ever again. And he was very, very lucky, because he's out in a very big ocean. There's nothing out there.
Nothing at all, actually, as it goes.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Well, we've avoided it long enough. We've got to mention that Donald Trump is the president-elect in the United States of America. But I have to say, I really do think a newspaper in Aberdeenshire has landed the most classic, brilliant, let's get him into our front page somehow or other headline by claiming that he's something to do with Aberdeenshire in Scotland.
Well, he is. Yeah. He's got the golf links there.
Yeah.
He owns houses there. So what they've said is Aberdeenshire business owner wins presidential election. Well done, Nick.
And it's not false.
No, it's true.
False.
It is true. But, if he hadn't have got the golf course, would it have been his Auntie Mabel's cat that would have been the topic? Because it gets...
The first newspaper I worked on was called the Ashton Underline Reporter, and it was an awful little weekly newspaper that prided itself on carrying every cough and spit of news to do with Ashton Underline. And I found in the annals of its history, it's the publication it made on the day that war broke out.
Yeah.
And it was one little paragraph at the bottom of the back page in what's called the slug box, and it just said, one paragraph, war broke out today.
Oh, good. That was it.
No, the Aberdeenshire, they're brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Unbelievable. Well, taking social media as we have been all the way through today, the butt of social media this week has definitely been Donald Trump, president-elect. But I did speak, luckily, I spoke to an American who lives in Slovakia this week, and he was really up for the fact that Donald Trump was going to make a difference.
He will make a difference. He will, one way or the other. The man will make a difference. I've not seen him make a difference for the good, though.
Well, no, he seemed quite proud about it. And I did then spend about 10 minutes trying to explain the Trumpton joke to him.
The Trumpton joke?
Yes.
Really. That was a headline on the Consumer Watch Foundation. Yeah, that also revealed that there were predictions of him becoming president of the United States many years ago. One was Homer Simpson predicted it.
True.
And there's also a blind Bulgarian clairvoyant who died before she made the prediction that he would become president. The prediction was that Barack Obama would be the last US president, and that sent shivers through the world because nobody knows what it means. Is Mr. Trump going to shuffle off this mortal coil before he takes office on the 20th of January? What does she mean?
Don't know. No. What's the ramifications in Australia, quickly, Rach?
A whole bunch of stuff. We've got a lot of military here. We've got the ANZUS Treaty between us, New Zealand, and the United States, which is it's perilous. We've got trade agreements with them, but we've also got trade agreements with China. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that could very well fall to bits if he decides to do half the things that he said he's going to do. But I have a funny feeling that all that huff and puff and all those sensational things he was saying I don't think it's going to come to anything.
I
think
agree.
He was trying to mobilise a group of voters that haven't voted in years, and that was predominantly white males who were not college educated.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it. He mobilised all of them. Yep. He mobilised everybody.
Yep.
And they all said, right, here's something we can get behind, and they did. So I think he's going to promise a lot of stuff. And I think I think we're going to see a more measured Donald Trump, because he's going to be surrounded by people telling him you can't do this and you can't do that, because he can't carry on that way. There's laws in that office.
Yep.
So,
I'll tell you what, Rach.
I don't think it's going to be as scary as we think.
No, and
well, it is, isn't it?
No, Leigh, because I purposely sat on purpose. I sat to watch his acceptance speech.
Yeah.
And what I saw there was exactly what Rach has just predicted. That he went from arrogant, incredibly arrogant, to very placid, and it was inclusion of all. And he purposely mentioned, he actually mentioned all the groups that were saying, oh, it's a disaster because Donald Trump's got it. And he was actually saying, like the lesbian and gay community, he was actually saying, we want you to be part of America. And so far, sorry, that's if you can hear that. That's the
very nice.
That's the air ambulance going over the top, which the flight path to the Tatras is there. Here, but he went from it was like chalk and cheese overnight. He really was.
The fact is, it doesn't matter whether he's chalk and cheese. The problem is, like Nigel Farage, he mobilised the baser instincts of the attitude of the non-voting public. We are in a situation in Britain which people find horrendous, and because the base elements of racism and
very quickly say goodbye, Leigh. Very quickly.
Bye, everybody.
Say goodbye, Rach.
Bye.
See you later, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a great week. Till next week. Bye-bye.
From the heart of Europe to the world, this is RTI.